Dear Daily News Report viewers, after watching this video, you can reach the video we shared yesterday by clicking on the top right button. The main topic of the yesterday's video was Global Economic Reset. We recommend watching, subscribing, and sharing. Thanks in advance. The United States economy continues to show the biggest contraction in the second quarter of American history. 25% or more, and gross domestic product for the whole year will shrink most since World War II. At the end of this year, the United States of America should start to recover. Some economists even think that growth is likely to expand in the third quarter. Analysts say that although there is no sudden and unreasonable treatment for COVID-19 disease, the economy has little chance to return to its pre-crisis state of health. The disease has left tens of millions of jobs, thousands of companies will fail, and will leave permanent marks on the spirit of consumers and business leaders. A specialist says it is not too early to plan to restart the economy using what we already know about coronavirus and other respiratory diseases. But life will not be the same in the new period. This is not a choice between dealing with the epidemic or dealing with the economy. We have to do both, and we have to do it successfully. While there are big unanswered questions as to whether people who test antibodies positively against the virus can resist it, we know a lot of things that can help us start reopening different aspects of progress in limited ways. It is obvious that the virus spreads as other respiratory viruses spread through droplets of various sizes, including aerosols. Planning can be for known risks. For example, being nearby and in large groups increases someone's risk of getting infected. How long have you been together asked? What are you doing during the interaction? Are you just sitting quietly and eating? Or are you cheering on a sporting event? Or shouting at a choir? Or singing? The physical environment can be a factor, including the layout of a room, separation of people it allows, and the use of air cleaning equipment. At the moment, for university, school, workplace, factory, any meeting point, every industry in the economy, what we will learn is not too early to start thinking about what we know and use. What would be our best practices today to start approaching a more normal way of interaction today? This is part of dealing with both our economy and the epidemic. I believe that it can attract much more attention than leadership across the entire business spectrum in our country. When the economy rolls again, things will be different. Handshakes are with a decreasing tradition, and people are wearing face masks and perhaps checking their temperature more regularly. In my opinion, he said, life in the time of coronavirus is not ever going to be quite the same as life prior to the coronavirus. I believe that life in the age of coronavirus will never be the same as pre-coronavirus life. More testing will be crucial to reopening. We don't currently have good predictions about where we are in the epidemic curve at different locations. The discussions to relax physical distance should be based on the capacity to test people, so we know where we are. I wouldn't be considering opening up society until I had testing in place. The first need is diagnostic tests to identify infected people and track their contacts. Then we need larger serological and antibody tests in the community to understand the extent of the outbreak so far. The governors have recently called for the federal government to help examine the lack of exams to remove restrictions in their state, and the federal government is among the most important obstacles. the Senate passed through $484 billion in new pandemic aid funds on Tuesday to support small business assistance programs, pay for coronavirus testing, and help hospitals hospitalized by sick patients. The bill has $25 billion for testing. Boston Mayor Martin Welch said on Tuesday that there is no timetable for return to some aspects of economic normality in Boston, because the basic prerequisites for reopening the city, including universal tests for the coronavirus, may be months. Perhaps the biggest obstacle to full recovery is the mentality of Americans. Surveys show that they are more concerned about the economy reopening too early and COVID-19 deaths than economic fallout. An estimated 45,000 Americans have already died from illness and census. As long as they are concerned, the United States cannot even work close to full slope. Older Americans who are more vulnerable to the virus are likely to continue social distance and avoid large crowds, which is now a disturbing change for an economy dominated by services with many close personal contacts. Concerns about the virus may mean that individuals are reluctant to gather in public places such as theaters and restaurants long after the official deadlock has been removed. There is some evidence that this is happening in China. Washington has taken action to save airlines whose flight is likely to extend, with almost no aircraft and foreign travel restrictions. And this week, the main lobby group of United States restaurants predicts that the industry will lose $240 billion in 2020. Our industry has a very long and uncertain way to heal due to the government-enforced closing and the long-term effects of social distance, the National Restaurant Association told Congress leaders this week. Another major hurdle to recovery is the health of small businesses that employ about half of all Americans. If the critical small business mass fails, the unemployment rate will continue to rise, and the economy will take longer to recover. Congress hurried to pump more than $650 billion to a private charity fund for small businesses. But it is uncertain whether this will be enough. RSM chief economist Joe Brusillas estimates that the flood of demand for small business loans may exceed $1 trillion as long as the crisis is not significantly reduced. Economists and business leaders say the worst possible is that another major viral outbreak will occur in the coming months of the year and force the economy to close again. The last pandemic that attacked the United States, the Spanish flu in 1918, was more deadly than the spring of the year when it first appeared in autumn. Closing the local or national economy for the second time will be extremely expensive for both companies and consumers, said Curtin. It will also lead to more bankruptcy in both sectors of the economy. Even in the best scenario, most estimates say unemployment will remain several years higher. The unemployment rate will probably not return to the 3.5% low before the crisis and will drag recovery. Most of the idea, comment, information, and criticism containing in these videos have been created by Daily News Report. Before making any important investment decision, use the information contained in these videos as a starting point for conducting your own research. If you make any investment or legal decision, it is wise to consult an expert before making this decision.